Okay, so today we are going to learn about graphing using x and y intercepts. Let's do a little investigation about x and y intercepts first. So by definition, you know that what's a y-intercept? Y-intercept is a point where the graph or the line crosses the y-axis. It's a point where the line crosses the y-axis. So if we look at lines A, B, C, D, and E, I'm just going to highlight all the y-intercepts. These are the points where the lines are crossing the y-axis. So now let's write the coordinates of all these points. So for line A, what will be the y-intercept? 0, 5. It's filled up for you. For line B, what will be the coordinates? That'll be 0, 4. For line C, it's going to be 0, 1. Line D, 0, negative 2. And line E is 0, negative 9. So what do all of these points have in common? For all of these points, x is always 0. So that means the coordinate for writing the y-intercept is going to be what? It is always going to be written as 0 and y, and we are representing it by the letter y because y could be any number depending on what that would be. Now let's look at the same information, but now we are going to replace y-intercept with x-intercept. So if we have to look at x-intercept would be a point where the line crosses the x-axis. So let's look at all these lines again and highlight all their x-intercepts. So I'm just highlighting line C first, as it is the first one here, B, 1, 2, and 6. Now we're going to write the coordinates of all of the x-intercepts. Line A is already done for you. It's 2, 0. Line B would be negative 3, 0. Line C would be, now here the point is not very clear, so I'm just going to take the nearest decimal form for this, which would be approximately negative, let's say 5.5. Just estimating 0. Line D would be 1, 0, and line E would be 6, 0. And again, what do all of these points have in common? Their y is always 0. So if we have to write the coordinate, a general coordinate for all the x-intercepts, what will be the general coordinate? That will be x0 because their y value is always 0. So we can just write the number x or the letter x to represent any number that would fall on the x-axis. Okay, let's look at part A of this question here. Now you'll see that the equation is 3x plus 4y equals 12. And this equation is not in the slope-intercept form, but instead it is in the standard form. So now when you're given an equation is in the standard form, it's not a good idea to use the other two graphing strategies that we have learned, which was graphing using table of values or graphing using slope and y-intercept. Why? Because we don't know what the slope and y-intercept is. It is not in the correct form. And to create a table of values, you can do it, but it's going to be way more work. So you have to think of smart strategies to graph a line. So in this case, we are going to figure out what our x and y intercepts going to be when we are graphing. So remember on the previous slide, we learned that for y-intercept, the x value must be 0. Because for a y-intercept, any y-intercept is always written in what form? It's always written as 0y. So now here you will see that all the x values are always 0. So when we are solving for the y-intercept, we are going to replace all the x values for 0 and solve for y. So let's see in our equation, I'm just going to replace x with 0. So what do we get? 3 times 0 plus 4y equals 12. So now let's just simplify and solve for y. 3 times 0 is going to be 0. So you're left with 4y equals 12. To solve for y, we divide both sides by 4. So y comes out to 3. So that means our y-intercept will be 0, 3. Now we're going to do the same thing for x-intercept, but for x-intercept, what do we have? Our point is always written as x0. So in this case, the y value is 0. So now we are going to replace all the y values. No, well, there is only one y value. The y value was 0. So it's going to be 3x plus 4 times 0 equals 12. So 4 times 0 is 0, so you're left with 3x equals 12. To solve for x, divide both sides by 3. So x is 4. So from here, our x-intercept is going to be 4, 0. So now you have x-intercept and your y-intercept. So what you're going to do now in your graph, you are going to now just find these 2 points and graph them. So your y-intercept is 3, plot it, and your x-intercept is 4. Plot these 2 points. Now these are our 2 points, and using these 2 points, we're going to draw a straight line, and that becomes our graph for the line 3x plus 4y equals 12. I would like you to pause the video now, try the question on the right side on your own, and come back and see if you got it right. Okay, so this is what your line looks like. In this case, the y-intercept was 0, 2.4, and x-intercept is negative 4, 0. I hope you've understood the lesson. Please go ahead and finish your practice work now.